Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another premiere draft of March of the Machine. Without further ado, let's slam dunk our incredible Pack 1 Pick 1 Chrome Host Seed Shark, one of the strongest rares in the format. It is a 3-mana 2/4 flyer, already an incredible deal, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to incubate X, where X is the spell's mana value, so this thing is absurd. It's an army in a can, providing you with multiple incubators throughout the game, as long as you keep casting some non-creature spells. Super strong card that you don't even need to build around, really, because almost every deck in the format's already going to be playing 6+ non-creature spells anyway, so Seed Shark is a slam dunk. Pack 1, Pick 1. Pack 1, Pick 2, we have a couple cards for going towards Blue-Red Convoke. There's a Joyful Storm Sculptor and a Shivan Branch Burner. We could also head towards Blue-Black with Nezumi Informant, a great value cheap creature. Protocol Knight would push us in the Blue-White Knights direction, and Meeting of Minds, solid card for any blue deck with a lot of cheap creatures. Pretty good with Chrome Host Seed Shark as well, because Convoke spells can be really nice with this, because you're getting extra creatures out of this to help convoke more spells, and it's more easy to cast high mana value spells if those high mana value spells have Convoke as well. So that way you might even be able to tap a bunch of creatures to cast a Meeting of Minds and still have the mana to flip the Incubator to. Kind of like just taking Meeting of Minds here and just sticking to blue for now. Protocol Knight does stick to only blue, but it's more of a gold card. It's kind of secretly a blue-white card, so it is functionally another multicolored card in this pack, or another off-color card, so I think Meeting of Minds synergizes well enough with Chrome Host Seed Shark while being a solid card for any blue deck to just stick to that. Alright, Pack 1 Pick 3, I think this is going to convince me to move into a secondary color now, because the best on-color card is Tidal Terror, which is fine. There are several really strong off-color cards, though. Blight Reaper Thallid is a miniature army in a can. It turns into a 3/3 and a 1/1, and when it dies you get another 1/1. So that is just a lot of creatures off of just one card. So great with Convoke, with Sacrifice effects, and just for blocking and attacking. Overgrown Pest is a great value creature, being able to draw you a card out of the top 5 when it hits the board. There's a decent enough amount of double-faced cards that most decks can pretty much always hit a land off of this, and then on occasion actually draw a spell off of it, which is really nice. Outside of these two, there's nothing incredible. Alabaster Host Intercessor is pretty good because it makes it really easy to fix your mana while giving you a perfectly reasonable 6-drop in white. But I think I'll go with Blight Reaper Thallid here. I just like all of these kind of uncommon flip cards quite a bit. I think most of them are incredibly powerful. The white one that flips to red isn't great, but the black one that flips green, the blue one that flips red, a lot of these flip cards are incredible. That being said, this is a Pack 1 Pick 4 Marshal of Zhalfir, which is an okay sign for Blue-White Knights. Pretty strong archetype. Sticks to blue, we are going to want to pick up a bunch of Knights to work with this, but maybe we can wheel some of these Protocol Knights. We have seen a few already now, especially since there's one in the pack with the Marshal. So Marshal of Zhalfir, really high upside. Not tremendously likely that it'll work out, because we haven't seen a ton of great white so far, but if we do get past enough stuff in white, the upside of this card is really, really worth it. Blue-White Knights is a super strong archetype when you can drop down a lord like Marshal of Zhalfir on turn 2. Alright, Pack 1 Pick 5, we could take a Sigiled Sentinel, which is solid for Blue-White Knights. Cyber Cryptomancer is great for any blue deck, though. It protects our Chrome Host Seed Shark, which is pretty important, giving us a little, basically a counterspell against opponent's removal. And this goes into our deck no matter what. Even if we're Blue-White Knights, we'll be perfectly happy to play a couple Cyber Cryptomancers, so I'm going to scoop it up here over the Sentinel. I think these are the two best cards here. Great card for Blue-White Knights, or a great card for blue in general. Pack 1 Pick 6, we have 3 main options. All are really good with the Seed Shark, because they're all high mana value Convoke non-creature spells. So they can give us a large incubator with the Chrome Host Seed Shark. I think I'd like to stick to blue again, so no matter what happens, even if we don't get a bunch of Knights in white, we still have a ton of playable cards for going in blue-black or blue-green or blue-red, anything like that. So I think I'll go for Temporal Cleansing. It's just the most likely to see play as a decent bounce spell, sort of a pseudo-removal spell. Slows your opponent down for a good amount. Great tempo play. Decent removal. We'll take a Temporal Cleansing here. Wingspan is good as well, and Aerial Boost is great as well, but I think Cleansing is the card that's just 100% going to make the cut no matter what our deck is doing. Alright, here I'll take a Tetsuko Umezawa. I'm not a super big fan of the Thunderhead Squadron, I prefer non-creature convoke spells a lot with a Chrome Host Seed Shark, and I prefer instant speed convoke spells the most. Those are really good because then you can still block and then cast your instant in the end step. Sorcery speed convoke's super bad because you're shutting off the ability to attack and block with those creatures. And this isn't even that good for the Knights deck, even though it's technically a Knight, because with that deck, you want to get your Knights on the board as quickly as possible for cards like Marshal of Zhalfir to buff all of them, or for cards like Protocol Knight to have another Knight on board as quickly as possible. So you really want a bunch of cheap Knights rather than a bunch of expensive Knights like that Convoke card. We can go ahead and take a Protocol Knight here. It's not really competing with anything. Now, it's not a lot going on here. Just going to hold down the Alt key, see if there's anything I can rare draft. Holding down the Alt key lets you know how much of every card you own in your collection when you want to rare draft when there's nothing good for your deck. There's nothing to rare draft here, so I guess I'll take a Core Halberd just in case for blue-white, I guess. Pick 10 Nezumi Informant. We already have a Blight Reaper Thallid, which is a great 2-drop creature in black. Informant's another great 2-drop creature. Branchburner is a fine finisher, but you need a really high quantity of good, cheap creatures in this format. And just in modern limited in general, and you only need 1 or 2 big finishers like a Branchburner, so Informant's just a much higher pick generally. Take the Informant there. Now I'll take a Revelation. I think Furtive Analyst is pretty much unplayable. It's just very slow and dirtily. Revelation is also slow and dirtily, but not quite as much. This can give you main deck interaction against your opponent's bombs if you have this in your opener. Being able to discard their bomb rare creature battle can work out well, and it has a backup plan. If you don't get to do that, then you always get an Incubator, which is fine. Alright, well this is shaping up like I kind of thought when I took the Marshal of Zhalfir, which is that I wasn't seeing a lot of good white to go with it initially, which is the problem, but when I made the pick I said it was probably worth the risk. And it looks like the risk has occurred here. It does not look like white is particularly open. Black definitely looks more open, getting an Informant that late. Revelation's not a huge sign, but Nezumi Informant's a pretty good, pretty high pick in black. So maybe head to blue-black here, and wow. Well, I think if we had gotten more white cards for blue-white Knights here, we could pretty happily take a Norn's Inquisitor. It is competing with a Progenitor Exarch, though, which is really difficult. I think both these are incredible, but luckily for us, seeing as we saw some good black cards like Nezumi Informant going pretty late there, we might be able to get a good pivot back onto blue-black over blue-white with this Sheoldred Whispering one being the rare that we've opened up. An incredible bomb mythic. It is 7 mana, so quite a lot of mana, but it really takes over the game. As soon as you pass the turn to your opponent, they're going to have to sacrifice something during their upkeep, and then if it makes it all the way back to your turn, you get to reanimate any creature from your graveyard, just put it right back on the battlefield, which is huge. So if you get 1 turn cycle with Sheoldred, you're probably winning. Incredible card. Love to wheel Eyes of Gitaxias. I think Deadly Derision is the second best card in black, but it is pretty much impossible for that card to wheel, so I'm not even going to hope for that. Eyes of Gitaxias might come back around to us. Now we have an Artistic Refusal, which is a very good counterspell, very good value play if you have a lot of good dirtily 2-drops. Part of what makes that so important in this format is the big convoke spells like this. So the aggressive decks want a bunch of 2 and 3 drops because they want to hit the board early and start beating your opponent down. Mid-range decks sometimes want to do that so they can flip their battles early. And then even like blue-black slower control your decks still want a lot of 2s and 3s so that you can convoke your big spells like this as well as block your opponent's initial aggro. So this is why I love taking a lot of 2-mana creatures over those big 7-mana Branchburner style creatures, so that it's a lot easier to get cards like Artistic Refusal and fit them into the deck. And that is what I'm going to take here. Incredible, incredible spell. There's another Marshal of Zhalfir. Dang. You know, it's competing with Protocol Knight. If I'm playing blue-black, I only get an Etched Host Doombringer or Protocol Knight, which aren't going to be good in blue-black. So I think I might as well speculate on another Marshal of Zhalfir just in case we really get pushed off black this pack. Because Doombringer and Protocol Knight are both very likely to be one of the first cards that we cut out of our blue-black deck. Because blue, without white at its side, has just such a low Knight count that Protocol Knight's not very consistently stunning things, which is where it gets really good, so think I'll actually take Marshal of Zhalfir, not because I think it's particularly likely we get to play it, but because I think anything that we take for the blue-black deck is just going to get cut out of that pack anyway. Alright, well, I think I need to sort my blue cards by mana curve and then sort my white and black cards by quantity, because Gift of Completion is solid, but Swordsworn Cavalier is very, very good for the blue-white Knights deck. So I think I kind of want to... Whenever there's a good blue card, Negate is just an okay-ish blue card. Whenever there's like a good or great blue card, I'm just going to slam dunk that. But I think for now, I'm just going to take the best card out of the pack between white, blue, and black. And I think Cavalier is quite a bit better than Gift of Completion. It's solid, but it's pretty slow. So if we just keep getting a bunch of good Knights, we could head in that direction. But if we get a pick 5 Invasion of Amonkhet, we could also head in this direction for blue-black. This is the best battle at uncommon in the format, the best uncommon in the format, period. Great value the second it hits the board, making your opponent discard a card and letting you draw a card, and once you flip it, it's pretty absurd, because you've milled your opponent, you've milled each player 3 cards, and made your opponent discard a card, so there's going to be something good to copy in the grave. Getting a 4/4 version of a Sheoldred would be completely busted, but even a 4/4 Seed Shark's ridiculous, a 4/4 Marshal of Zhalfir. Invasion of Amonkhet's very, very good. Best card in that pack by a lot. Okay, neither of these are good for blue-white Knights. Protocol Knight is fine for blue-white Knights, but I think Corruption of Tawashi will be better for blue-black, and that is looking a bit more likely. So since we're going to take a blue card either way, let's take the Corruption of Tawashi over the Protocol Knight. This is a card that gives us some extra value every time we flip Incubators. So great with the Chrome Host Seed Shark. It also works when we flip anything. So our Invasion of Amonkhet, if we get to cast a transformed permanent by using Invasion of Amonkhet, that'll work. And it works with the flip creatures as well. There they are. Blight Reaper Thalid will also draw us a card. Works with Eyes of Gitaxias, which we get decently late here, pick 7. Happy to take that. And nothing going on here. I guess I'll take a Tidal Terror. It's a fine finisher for these blue-black decks, because again, you tend to run a lot of dirty little 2-drop creatures anyway, just to help convoke. So when you don't need to Island Cycle this card, you can often have a couple leftover creatures to help give this unblockable, and 5 unblockable damage can kill your opponent pretty quickly, so Tidal Terror is pretty fine. Take another Eyes of Gitaxias here. There's an Order of the Mirror, but that is one of the worst Knights. It's very filler. Yeah, weird, slightly unfortunate draft pod for blue-white Knights. We saw the Marshal of Zhalfirs and the Protocol Knights, but the white side of things, these Knights are just not great. Quende's fine, Defector's fine, but I think the white half of things just really didn't pan out for the blue-white Knights deck to be the place to be here. So blue-black it'll be, unless we maybe splash some white off of a Scoured Barrens. That feels unlikely. Just, well, I should probably take an Etched Familiar just in case we need some more filler creatures. We're getting pick 13 Cryptomancer versus Gitaxias. Got 2 Cryptomancers. I don't like to have a million though. Then we take a 3rd Eyes of Gitaxias. Blue's open. The blue side of things is looking incredible. The black side's looking fine, and the white side's looking pretty miserable. Alright, pack 3. What goodies do you have in store for us? A second Invasion of Amonkhet? Don't mind if I do. I should maybe take Collective Nightmare here, because I'm really low on removal, but this card is just such a banger. I don't really think I can pass it up. Should be the no removal deck. Let's go. Sorry, Collective Nightmare. Okay. Deadly Derision versus Hidetsugu and Kairi? Oh. We really are going to be the no removal deck, aren't we? Because I'm about to take a Hidetsugu and Kairi over a removal spell. It's the best removal spell, too. Actually, I might like Merciless Repurposing better. I think I do. I really like Merciless Repurposing, but Deadly Derision is probably the best common removal spell. It's so good. But Hidetsugu and Kairi is an absolute bomb. A 5/4 flyer for 5 that can end the game really quickly, and it gets you a card worth of value the second it hits the board by drawing 3, then putting 2 back on top of your library, and then when it dies, it might even cast another spell for free, and worst case scenario, just makes your opponent lose a bunch of life. Hitotsugu and Kairi is busted. Take an Oracle of Tragedy here. This card's pretty nice because early game it sets up your draws with that draw plus discard trigger, and late game it can make sure you don't mill out with that shuffle trigger. Both are pretty great. Like it a lot in blue-black, don't like it a lot in anything else. It's definitely not good in blue-white Knights. It might be okay in blue-red Convoke, but that's also a more aggressive strategy that doesn't really want the 2-mana 1/3. I don't know. Well, what we lack in straight removal spells, we can try to make up for with counter spells, combat tricks, discard spells. It's not where you really want to be here, but I think it's where we're at in this draft pod, so let's grab an Assimilate Essence, try to make up for our lack of removal. We could have had 3 Martial Zalfirs and like very few White Knights. All the decent White Knights like Sentinel have been in the same pack as like Martial Zalfir. Been so awkward. Take a really mediocre removal spell. Is that worth taking over Meeting of Minds? Probably. I have 3 Eyes of Gataxias giving me a little bit of card draw, Invasion of Amonkhet giving me a little bit of card draw. A lot of like draw 1 abilities in this deck that can stack up. I don't love this failed conversion, but we are so dang low on removal, I think we take it. Okay, I quite like Scornblade Berserker, really helpful with artistic refusal and stuff. Invasion of Eldraine's fine. Gonna be a little hard to chip away at battles in this deck. Could take a Temporal Cleansing. It's pseudo removal. I think I'm good to just take Berserker though, since that isn't like hard removal. Okay, Oil Caster, Protocol Knight, Yargle are all super filler. Conversion's also filler, but at least it's filler that fills out something we're missing. Alright, I just have 50 copies of Failed Conversion. These are the removal spells. Our opponent resolves 1 Galta and Mavrin, the 12/12 trample, and then we cry all the way home. Just no way to deal with that. Just any of the big green bombs are going to absolutely crush us. Borborygmos and Fibblethip, Kogla and Yidaro. All these cards that are just way too big for Failed Conversion. Could take another Meeting of Minds here. Omen Hawk would also be fine. Got quite a few abilities, right? I actually do. I have a lot of incubators and stuff. Let's actually take Omen Hawker. Good old Soul Ring. 1 mana for a mana rock that taps for 2. If we're lucky. I don't have many cards that mill both players, but I do have 2 Invasion of Amonkhet, so Expedition Lookout could be okay. Probably better than Furtive and Analyst. An Analyst? I have made a new word for the Furtive card. Nothing on color. Already got 4 of all these. Let's just scoop up a Sanctifier, I guess. It's in the number 1 slot in the pack, so it's got to be the best card. I have 0 copies of Squee. Well, sorry, Squee, I'm still going to have 0. I have 4 copies of the original Dominaria version, so I'm fine on that. I'm just going to take another Battle Fan, just in case I want to run that. Unlikely, but probably more valuable than a Squee sitting in the sideboard. Or my 5th copy of Squee for my collection. Except that it's a copy that doesn't actually give me any gems. Alright, that is the draft. Alright, so here's all the blue and black cards that we drafted. We get to cut 9 cards out of here. Let's get these Cryptomancers out of the 2 drops, because we're not really going to play them on turn 2. We've got 2 1 drops. We would still have 3, 4, 5. We'd still have 4 of them if I cut 1. If I cut any 2-drop creature. I do like the Umezawa. We've got a lot of random 1/1s and 1/2s and stuff. Actually, probably cut the Lookout out of all the 2-drop creatures if I cut one of those. Double Battle Fan might be a bit much. We could cut 1 of those. Don't think I want to cut 2 though. Definitely keeping the Seed Shark. Etch Familiar is the worst 3-drop, because we have Seed Shark and triple Eyes of Gataxias for 3 mana cards that are dumping mana towards expanding our board state. And then 2 Invasion of Amonkhet, which are incredible. We have our only Knights are Protocol Knights, so I think those are just going to get cut. Meeting of Minds is solid, cheap card draw on its own. It works well with the Chrome Host Seed Shark, but again, as we mentioned before, we have 3 Eyes of Gataxias drawing 1 card, Invasion of Amonkhet. We have 2 Invasion of Amonkhet drawing 1 card. Hitotsugu and Kairi drawing 3, then putting 2 back, which is the equivalent of drawing 1 card. Artistic Refusal drawing 2 and discarding 1. A lot of value on cards that are also doing other things, so we might cut Meeting of Minds. 3 failed conversion might be a bit much. They're also the weakest cards in our deck, I think, in terms of the output for their mana value. That being said, they're filling a pretty important role that none of our other cards do, which is potentially permanently dealing with something that has resolved. Temporal Cleansing only temporarily deals with it. Artistic Refusal and Assimilate Essence only deal with it before it's on the board. Revelation only deals with it before it's on the board. And Bladed Battle Fan is too narrow. It's not going to kill anything that isn't getting into combat with a decently sized creature of our own. So I do want to keep at least one of these conversions in, but they're potential cuts. And Battle Fan's potential cuts as well, because our creatures aren't that big, so it's going to be relatively hard to actually kill anything decently sized with a Bladed Battle Fan. I think most of the time, Cryptomancer is just going to be better than Battle Fan, because Cryptomancer is always going to protect our best cards from removal from our opponents, like Sheoldred, Hitotsugu, and Kairi and stuff. And Chrome Host Seed Shark, we can protect all those with Cryptomancers from any removal spells, whereas with Battle Fan, we can only protect our bombs from destroy removal. If our opponent tries to -X our bomb, or exile our bomb, or bounce our bomb back to our hand, Battle Fan? Bladed Battle Fan does not protect from all of those different things, whereas Cryptomancer does, and I don't think our creatures fight all that well for Battle Fan to be that appealing during combat. I guess we get to leave it behind to turn 1/1s into 2/1s, which is cool, but like turning a 1/1 or a 1/3 into a 2-power creature during combat is just not killing a lot of stuff. So I like the Cryptomancers more than the Battle Fans, and they're kind of redundant. They're filling very similar roles, so we could maybe cut both Battle Fans. Let's see. So 9 cuts. Out of everything that I've set aside, how many cards would that be if I cut all the creatures immediately? And then I cut Meeting of Minds, 1 Battle Fan. That would still not be enough. I'd still have to cut 3 more. So we'd have to cut the other Battle Fan and 2 conversions, just run 1 conversion. That's probably okay. If I were a much less lazy deck builder, then this is where I would swap the deck around between matches based on how well conversion seems to play out during gameplay. But this is definitely up there in terms of one of the best builds we could have out of these 45-ish cards that we drafted. So I think that's good enough for me. I think we'll call it a deck there. All right, here we have the final deck for today. It's going to be another very solid blue-black pile. Our big flaw with today's deck is that our removal is pretty bad. We only have 1 hard removal spell, and that's Failed Conversion, which is -4/-4, so even that can't kill everything. Lots of big, sturdy creatures later in the game will be super hard for us to deal with. But we have some other cards making up for that lack of removal with a couple counter spells like Artistic Refusal and Assimilate Essence, as well as the bounce spell of Temporal Cleansing, the discard of Traumatic Revelation, and outside of that, we have a very good creature curve and a lot of just really high power cards in this blue-black deck. Starting off, we have Scornblade Berserker and Omen Hawker. To get things rolling, starting turn 1, the Berserker we can cash in for a card draw later, while getting in a little bit of damage early. The Omen Hawker helping us flip all of our incubators for super cheap. At 2 mana, we have Oracle of Tragedy, setting up our draws in the early game or making sure we don't mill out in the late game. Tetsuko Umezawa can help us make a bunch of our small creatures unblockable, which can help flip one of our battles pretty easily. Blight Reaper Thallid is just a ton of creatures off of 1 card to really clutter up that board state. Nezumi Informant is a great little value play, making our opponent discard a card and getting a creature out. Chrome Host Seed Shark is excellent with any non-creature spells, letting us incubate XX sharks for each non-creature spell that we cast. Technically, they're not sharks like Sharknado, they're Phyrexians this time, but I want to imagine Phyrexian sharks. There's 2 Invasion of Amonkhet, the best uncommon in the format. Super great card. When it hits the board, each player mills 3, and then each opponent discards a card and you draw a card, so solid value immediately off of the front half. And if you ever flip it, you're getting a 4/4 version of the best creature in any graveyard, which is nasty. Then we've got some more bombs going up the curve. We have Hitotsugu and Kairi, 5 mana 5/4 flyer with some card draw attached and potential life loss or even a free spell when it dies. Sheoldred Whispering one, completely taking over the game if our opponent doesn't have removal in 1 turn cycle. It's going to make them sack a creature and then let us reanimate a creature. That's if it survives just 1 turn cycle. If it stays on board, it's pretty impossible to deal with. Tidal Terror gives us another random filler endgame card that functions also as an 18th land when we need it to help get to our 7 mana cards like Sheoldred. And last but not least, we have a couple Cyber Cryptomancers, which I just pulled out of the 2-drop slot because they're not creatures that we actually play at 2 mana. These are more protection spells for our 3 very good bombs. We can also use them as combat tricks with some of our cheaper creatures, but mainly we'll use these to keep our Chrome Host Seed Shark, our Hitotsugu and Kairi, and our Sheoldred on the board with that hexproof ability. So pretty sweet deck today. It does depend on how the games go. If our opponents play some big threats that need to be dealt with, we don't have a ton of great ways to do that. So we could have some rough matchups here, but I've got my fingers crossed. This deck is capable of some very powerful things if we can hit them, and we've got a lot of incidental card draw to help get there with triple Eyes of Ataxius, Amonkhet's and stuff digging for our bombs. So very powerful things are possible with this deck, so we'll have to see how things go as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1. I think we have to take a mulligan here. If I don't hit a blue source, then I'm not really doing anything. And even if I do hit a blue source, it's a very slow hand. Just 2 2-drops and then a 5 and a 6 for really late in the game. So let's take the mulligan here. Mono black hand again. This time we have a Tidal Terror to grab the blue source though, so it's a bit more reasonable. I think we get rid of the Cryptomancer because that'll get played a lot later to protect something. Not just something that we need right now. Our opponent starts with a turn 1 Ichor Drinker, so we're happy to have a turn 1 Scornblade Berserker to keep that off of us. They're on black-red. They're going to send in, show me your combat trick. You are all good to spend a combat trick on Berserker. And they're going to spend the indestructible part of the Bladed Battle Fan on it. If I Tidal Terror, I know I can Eyes of Gataxias turn 3. By Traumatic Revelation, I make sure they don't have an incredible turn 3 play to really beat us down. I'll play it a little safe and go for the Rev. Oh wow. An equipment, a vehicle, in an instant. Well, that didn't work out super well, but at least we get a 3/3 setup. It's a flip. Not going to do any blocking, though, against the Beamtown Beatstick, giving the Ichor Drinker Menace. Yeah, no reason to hold the mana up to flip this when they just have Menace anyway. I guess they could spend the treasure token to play their Marauding Dreadship and flip the Incubator it produces if they have a 4th land. They do not have a 4th land. Or they're just doing stuff post-combat. Pyretic Prankster is the play. Another Cryptomancer. We need another blue source. Pretty desperately. I don't think we need it desperately enough to not block at all this turn, because if I Eyes of Gataxias, I don't get to do anything else. So I have 0 blockers. It's probably better to just flip an Incubator. Be able to at least block the Prankster. Yeah, I mean, if I just cast an Eyes of Gataxias here, they could play the Dreadship, flip the Incubator to crew the Dreadship, and hit me for 9 damage this turn, which I think is just too much to take. Alright, here's a 3-3 against the 2-1. Take 3. Okay, they are going to go for Volcanic Spite, so I'll go for Cryptomancer. Volcanic Spite is countered, Prankster is dead. Now I have a 0-1 so that I could double block whatever has Menace with a 0-1 and a 4-4. Okay, we hit another Swamp, which is useless. We need more blue sources. Don't love not holding up Cryptomancer, but they only have one card we don't know about, so they'll have 2 unknown cards and a Dreadship. They need one of the 2 unknown cards to be able to kill a 4-4. I think I'm going to go for the Eyes of Gataxius. Dig towards that next island. Awesome. If we immediately hit it, then that plays out really well. Now we can flip a 3-3 or cast a Cryptomancer, and we can guaranteed cast a Hidetsugu and Kairi next turn. So they're going to crew a Dreadship to attack with a 4-1. Are they going to send in the Ichor Drinker as well? They are. So I could Cryptomancer to kill Dreadship without losing a creature, or I could kill both by flipping my 3-3. But then I lose 2 creatures. I lose a Cryptomancer and a 3-3. I think I'm okay with that. I think I'd rather just kill everything right now. Lose a Cryptomancer, lose a 3-3. Keep a 4-4 on board against their stuff. Take no damage. Alright, Eyes of Gataxius is the draw. If I can hit another blue source, we can have a Hidetsugu and Kairi down with a Cryptomancer backup. And right now, just playing an Eyes of Gataxius with a Cryptomancer backup should probably be good enough to keep us off of taking any damage. Or maybe we take like 2 damage or something. Wow, Chromehost Seed Shark is the draw. So now I could Seed Shark holding up Cryptomancer next turn, maybe. I'm gonna play this Swamp despite it being something to put back on top with Hidetsugu and Kairi. I think I want to keep playing every land per turn in case I top deck another. That'd be blue, blue, black, 1-2, and then I need to play that land to have the 2 mana up for Cryptomancer for Hidetsugu Kairi, so yeah. Definitely want to play that Swamp there. If I don't hit a land, we might be on Seed Shark next turn. But if I do, we are quite likely on Hidetsugu and Kairi. Because if it's a blue source next turn, then I can play Hidetsugu and Kairi and have a Cryptomancer at the ready. 36-9. That's a pretty decent life total disparity there. We hit the island, now we go. We drop the Hidetsugu and Kairi. Land, Oracle of Tragedy. I guess I'll just put land back on top, and those will be my next draws. It's fine. Holding up Cryptomancer. Beatstick on the frontliner. Battle Fan on the frontliner. If I want to block and kill this without losing Hidetsugu and Kairi, then I have to cast Cryptomancer this turn. Either to a double block with Cryptomancer and a 3-3, or to make Hidetsugu and Kairi 5 toughness. I think that's fine. I have a Chrome Host Seed Shark and an Oracle of Tragedy coming up after this. We can miss out on Cryptomancer value. We can miss out on the Hexproof. Should still be fine. So let's get this swamp out of the way. I believe. Yeah, we still have like half our deck. And then just drop a Chrome Host Seed Shark. All right. Lithomantic Barrage. Blow up the Chrome Host Seed Shark. Rouse Reinforcements. Okay. Put a Battle Fan on one of their ones. Oh my god, Invasion of Amonkhet's beautiful. Each player mills 3, they discard the last card in their hand, we draw a card, then we flip this, then we get a 4/4 flying Chrome Host Seed Shark. What a draw. That's just gonna lock this one in, I think. Yep, their graveyard is not good. We have a Seed Shark, so we'll take it. There's an argument for holding on to that island in case they have Nezumi Informant or something to make me discard a card and I don't want to have to counter it with Essence. But I think it's cool to just keep playing the lands so we have all the mana to flip incubators and dump into whatever we're drawing. It's all good either way. Opponent scoops them up there to the Assimilate Essence on their Valduk. Not like the greatest Assimilate Essence ever, but I think it's worth it when we have the Seed Shark on board. We get to counter the Valduk and get a 2/2 and immediately flip the 2/2, so go for the Assimilate and they scoop them up. Really big recovery there. Excellent stuff from the blue-black deck. Really swinging things back in our favor after getting beaten down in the early game. So we are 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2, opening up with a monocolored hand again. This time we have 2 castable spells and they're both 2-drops. So we know we're rolling things out early in the game. We're also on the draw. Things could go really wrong here, but I think this is keepable, whereas our opener last game was definitely not. Because our worst case scenario here still involves a turn 2 and a turn 3 play, and any land gives us a turn 4 play of flipping the Thallid, and a single island gives us access to the entire hand outside of one card. So we did immediately hit the single island, so we are doing well here. I think against Daxos. I think I want to just drop a 1/3, stop as much damage as possible right now. If I just play a Thallid or an Informant, then they are going to hit me for 2 this turn. Umezawa holds them off. Kithkin Billy Rider, 1/3 double strike. Well, a 1/3 can block that still. There's the second blue for Hidetsugu and Kairi, so we can play them on turn 5. Pretty nasty, pretty strong. Do I like Informant plus Berserker? Not a lot, but I want to be mana efficient where I can. Guess I just go Thallid plus Berserker then? I'm not going to sack anything here, so let's just buff up whatever gets the most value from getting buffed, which I think is Thallid, because if I buff Tetsuko Umezawa, then they're a 2/4, and they're no longer unblockable. So that feels like a bad idea. They have to have 1 power or 1 toughness to be unblockable. Alright, we're cluttering up the board state, which is cool with me. Just hanging out with our opponent. Could just flip a Thallid and draw a card for the turn. Feels like a solid way to spend our mana. Should drop Hidetsugu and Kairi next turn, and if they die, whatever, we make our opponent lose some life. Have the Cryptomancer for later. I could still go real slow on the Hidetsugu and Kairi if I want, try to wait till I have 7 mana. I think I'm cool to poke them here. I've got a free chump block draw card on the crackback. I think sending in the Thallid there also would have been okay. Don't want to cash this Berserker in just immediately right now. Not really, I don't think anything I draw is going to change what I do currently. Well, now I can just make my opponent discard their entire hand, so I guess that does actually change what I'm going to do this turn. Also, I can immediately hit this thing for 2, so I kill it in 2 turns, which is disgusting. And then I make it a Chrome Host Seed Shark. We also milled their bomb rare, Glistening Dawn. They had to discard a Botanical Brawler. That was the weaker card? Well, let's see what the other card is. Shall we, Nezumi Informant? Removal spell? Combat trick? Combat trick, Angelic Intervention it is. Alright, get a counter on Historian. But their hand is gone, and I flip an Invasion of Amonkhet in 2 turns. Making a Chrome Host Seed Shark. So next turn I can flip a Chrome Host Seed Shark onto the board and still have all of my mana untapped if I draw into a non-creature spell. If they immediately top-decked a combat trick, then good for them, they got it here. They did not, so we'll just trade our 4/4s, which is cool with me because it gives me another 1/1 unblockable card. Alright, no non-creature spells to go with our flipped Invasion of Amonkhet, unfortunately, but that's fine. We can just hold up a bunch of Cryptomancers, I think, for now. We can also just play Hitotsugu and Kairi. Yeah, I mean, I don't even have any non-creature spells for the Seed Shark right now anyway. Let's just get greedy. Just slam down 9 flying power onto the board. Now I've got a Temporal Cleansing. Let's put that on top since I can't cast it right now anyway, in case they top deck removal. Then I get to cast it for free. When they kill Hitotsugu and Kairi, and they did not top deck removal, so that board state just got atrociously in our favor from the power of Invasion of Amonkhet and Tetsuko Umezawa letting us easily chip away at the invasion. Excellent stuff. We are now 2-0 heading into Game 3. Here we are now for Game 3. Our opponent is on the play. We've got a turn 2 Blight Reaper Thallid and a turn 3 Chrome Host Seed Shark, so I think I'm going to keep it. Our opponent starts off with a turn 1 Captive Weird, which is also excellent, and now we've drawn a great non-creature spell to cast. If our Seed Shark doesn't die immediately, we get to play an Invasion of Amonkhet the turn after we play it, which should be beautiful. We might be under a lot of pressure here, because our opponent went turn 1 Captive Weird into turn 2 Kenra Spell Spear. Both of these excellent flip creatures. The Spell Spear turns into a really hard to block card, a Trample Ward 2 Prowess. They've got a Searing Barb, one of the few times I've seen Searing Barb really pop off. It kills our Blight Reaper Thallid and incubates 1, and triggers the Spell Spear's Prowess. So that was pretty nasty for us. Hopefully no removal for the Seed Shark here. We don't really have alternate lines. I could play an Invasion of Amonkhet with nothing on board, but that misses out on Seed Shark value. So we kind of have to just go for it with this hand. Fingers crossed. Barb was the only interaction they have for now. Invasion of Mercadia is the play. They get to discard a card and draw 2 and dig for some outs. Some ways to deal with a Seed Shark. They're discarding a 2-mana 2/1, fair enough, and they cast a Ral's Reinforcement. So, as you can see, Spell Spear completely popping off and gonna win them this game even unflipped, because this thing has gotten 2 prowess triggers this turn from them playing a battle and playing Ral's Reinforcements, which makes my options to chump block with my Chrome Host Seed Shark or let them immediately flip Invasion of Mercadia into a busted 3/3 that spits 2 creatures on the board and gives +1/+0 to the whole board. So we're probably losing this game, and it's very much due to Spell Spear. This thing has completely popped off here. And we go from behind on board to drastically behind on board incredibly quickly. This is like a blitz game of Magic here. I can drop it in Eyes of Gataxias, and then I get 2 Incubate 3s, which is cool, and draw a card. But I think it's better to play Invasion of Amonkhet and make them discard one of their 2 cards. Since I won't have the mana to flip all these eggs immediately anyway. Ooh, Scornblade Berserker's the draw. I can buff the Seed Shark and have a chump blocker. So if I attack the Invasion of Amonkhet with my Seed Shark, and then I pass turn and they just use the Flamewright and flip the egg, which they will have the mana to do if they have one of their 2 cards as a basic. They go land, flip this, then use Flamewright. I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like a million damage. But I also don't have a way to kill Invasion of Amonkhet without attacking it twice. If I don't attack it now, I'm not going to flip it for a long time. It's probably fine, though. I just need to survive. If I can survive with a Seed Shark on board, I can have so many eggs to block with. Like, next turn I go Eyes of Gataxias and flip one of my 3 3/3s. We just need to take every single opportunity to block that we can. This looks like it might be flip a 1/1 and then use Flamewright. Nope. No basic land, so no flipping the Flamewright. So this is going to be a combat trick to kill Seed Shark. I don't think I really have another choice but to take that bluff and hope they don't have the combat trick. So the only spell it could be for a blue and a red that would kill a 3/5 is Volcanic Spite, which is 3 damage, right? That way if I block Spell Spear or Flamewright, then the Seed Shark dies. The other trick I can think of is a blue and 1 to turn it into a 4/3 and draw a card. That wouldn't work. So they're probably on Volcanic Spite or just trying to get a bunch of damage in here. Can play around Spite and just kill a 1/1 this turn. Take a lot of damage though. Not going to have the extra mana to cycle Berserker for a card for a while. So I think it's okay to soak that up and just take 4 here. Disturbing Conversion was what they had, so it's none of the cards I was thinking of because I was only thinking of the things that could actually kill the Seed Shark. That stops it from killing anything, so I guess blocking Flamewright would have played better for us. But I think it was fine to play around Volcanic Spite. I think our stuff is just too slow here, though. This was just too fast. This was a speed duel. This was a card game on motorcycles. This was a 4,000 life points duel. Yep. Looks pretty dead. 2 attacks, though, I believe. I don't think it's insta-dead. Yeah, it's 2 attacks, but we're very dead in 2 attacks. Yeah, this thing is just nuts, so there's nothing we can do. No interaction for the Flamewright. So that is a game that our opponent curved out like nobody's business with that. That Spell Spear was completely nuts, but yeah, if you can flip a Flamewright out, that thing is devastating if it doesn't get removed, and that is the biggest flaw of our deck, is the lack of removal, so we are going to crumble to that Flamewright. Flip 2 blockers here, but Flamewright means 2 more attackers, all of which have 2 power, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. I would need to be able to block 6 of them to survive, so there's no possible way we're getting 6 blockers down there. 2 and 1 heading into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 4. I don't like that we don't impact the board in the early turns. Turns, not terms. But I do like the power level of our 2 and 3 drop here, so I'm going to roll with it. It's risky, though, if our opponent has a really aggressive hand. Alright, it's not very aggressive. They've got an Invasion of Fiora later, which is nasty, and an Informant to make me discard a card, which I don't like. But I'm just going to get rid of Invasion of Fiora. Probably discard a Temporal Cleansing based on what's on their current board. Not going to want to use that for a long time. I do want to hit a lot of lands to get to Artistic Refusal. Blight Reaper Thallid is the draw. Forces them to use a Final Flourish here. It doesn't seem incredible. I'm just going to Invasion of Amonkhet. Maybe I can hit one of my Cryptomancers before I drop a Blight Reaper Thallid. And then I can really get them. Because I drop the Thallid, they go for the Final Flourish, we go for the Cryptomancer. Yeah, we're just taking 2 a turn, this is fine. They're going to Corrupted Conviction the Informant to draw a couple cards now. Yep. Another Ichor Drinker. Alright, Eyes of Gataxius. Take another 2 here. I'm going to take another 2 here no matter what. It's just, do I put nothing on board and take 2, or do I put a 2/2 that dies to Flourish down and take 2? It's like, do I force them to use their Final Flourish and then take 2 damage? And I think it's better to not force them to use it yet. Okay, so now I'm going to have 2 blockers. Now I'll have a 3/3 and a 2/2. If I go for the 3 life to flip the Thallid, they can respond by killing it before it resolves, and then I just spend 2 life for nothing, so we're not going to do that. We're going to hold our other 2 mana up to flip our Incubator. Block Ichor Drinker, and they're not going to cast Final Flourish during our turn. So I'm into that. They're going to Skittering Surveyor for a land. Could be a splash color here. They're on black and green so far, but we've only seen the black spells. Another Forests, they are just black-green. And pass the turn. Okay, they're just going to let us have our stuff. That's cool with me. Let's get the mana investment out of the way for the Incubator token. And then if I flip Blight Reaper Thallid, I'm not holding up Artistic Refusal anymore, which does not seem good. Actually, I guess I am, barely. But they just respond with Final Flourish because they have the 2 mana up. So I would have Final Flourish up after the Thallid resolves. But if they respond to me using this with a Final Flourish, I can't Artistic Refusal the Flourish. And then I can't Artistic Refusal at all, because the Thallid dies and I don't get a 1/1. I think this is weird and suspicious, but I think I have to just pass. That card is not going to be beatable. It's going to get 2+1/+1 counters on one of their creatures every single turn. Yeah, that's going to be the target. Alright, let's draw 2, discard 1. We hit a Seed Shark Shieldred. Okay, Shieldred's only a 6/6, so now I really want them to use Final Flourish, because if I don't get them to use it, they can sacrifice an Ichor Drinker to give Shieldred -6/-6. So I think I attempt to flip the Thallid next turn and then drop a Seed Shark afterwards. And this way maybe they spend the Final Flourish on the Thallid. If they don't spend it on the Thallid, then they're obviously just going to be banking it. Okay, cool. They spent it on the Thallid, so they don't have it to use on Shieldred. We're going to play the Seed Shark here and hope that Flourish was all they had, so they don't have removal for Seed Shark either. But even if they do have removal for Seed Shark, this will help make sure they don't have removal for Shieldred, which I think is even more important, because Shieldred can just reanimate the Seed Shark if they don't kill her within 1 turn. So we send out the Seed Shark now. They do have a Chomping Kavu. 1 green mana up. Don't think there's a 1 green mana fight spell in this format, but I could be wrong. Alright, no removal, no response. So let's attack Invasion of Amonkhet for 2. So it is 1 swing away from death. And then drop a Shieldred and pass the turn. They have to sacrifice a creature now, but they have 2 Ichor Drinkers on the board, so that's pretty easy for them. The really scary part, the really bad part, is the part where I get to reanimate stuff. That's what's going to be really bad for them if they can't kill Shieldred. Alright, no removal for our opponent. That's probably just going to be game, because we get to reanimate a Hitotsugu and Kairi. And there's all 3 of them. The 3 amigos. Why is it when something goes wrong, it's always you 3? Or when something goes right, even. Alright, yeah, this seems atrociously good. Then I get to play the best creature from their grave, which I guess is the Nezumi Informant. Oops. They had to breach the multiverse too. Shieldred's unblockable, by the way, because they're playing black. Good grief. Crimes against humanity, this game. Honestly. Sandstalker Moloch. So they get to draw a permanent from the top 4 cards of their library and put it into their hand. They pick up a Phyrexian Gargantua for some good card draw. But I am currently living the dream here. Just gonna flip these 2. I can just play Tetsuko Umezawa whenever I want to attack with 1 power things, which I don't have any right now, so it's just a single unblockable creature, which isn't that great. I'd rather have the mana up to flip both my eggs. Apologies about the text. I've got some very important family things going on lately, so put them on mute, but I may be a little distracted. Alright. They've got the Gargantua in hand, which they can drop onto the board, but then we still have a million unblockable creatures. We have 7 power in the sky, 6 power with Swamp Walk, which is going to be a terrible time for our opponent. Storm the Seed Core. Get a lot of potential damage in here. It's a good thing I have 2 3/3s to flip, because I think that's about their only hope, is that Storm the Seed Core could have potentially pushed into lethal combat damage in some way. But with 2 more 3/3s to flip, like, we're golden. We'll be fine. We know their last card is Phyrexian Gargantua, so they don't have any tricks to play here. So right now I take 5 if I do this. Cool with the trade, so they don't get to keep a 4/4 lifelink. Maybe I could find lethal on the crackback, but I don't think it's necessary. Plus, it would kind of be hard to find lethal on the crackback if I let them keep a 4/4 lifelinking blocker, so I think the trade into the lifelinker is fine. For multiple reasons. Yeah, no, we probably don't have a way to find lethal on the crackback because of the gain 4 off of that attack. Like, I just have to trade into that, otherwise they gain 4 on the block as well. Get the Nezumi Informant, I guess. Make them discard the Gargantua. It's pretty rude. Another land is whatever. Send in the team, the squad. They have a single 2/2 to attack back with. Yeah, they're just going to concede now. that is going to be game. We are now 3-1, guaranteeing at worst a 50-50 run, getting 1,000 of our gems back no matter what. Solid start to this draft, but we'll see how far we can keep going with this as we head into game number 5. Here we are now for game 5. This hand doesn't have a lot of spells in it, but the ones that are in there are pretty strong. Thallid kind of counts as a turn 2 and turn 3 play. Could definitely go wrong, but I'm cool with a keep here. We've got very good mana, having 2 black sources and 2 blue sources for anything we draw into. Our opponents on blue-white, they start with a Tranquil Cove into an island. We'll roll out our Blight Reaper Thallid and pass from there. Turn 3, they're going to drop Invasion of Belenon, get their 2/2 Vigilant Knight. Let's go ahead and just flip our Blight Reaper Thallid so that we've got a creature too large for them to attack through. And I could send in and still have a chump blocker here. I can let them chip away at this battle a little bit. The Invasion of Belenon has 5 defense. Oh, I think I probably just play the long game and just protect this thing. We've got a huge card draw engine later with Corruption of Tawashi. So I think we should just be doing as we've been doing, which is just preventing all of the damage in the early game. Just this time we're preventing that damage to a battle instead of our face. Playing Azumi Informant, still having Assimilate Essence up, which seems solid. And this way we also get to wait on flipping any Eyes of Gataxias incubators until we have a Corruption of Tawashi down, so we can get that extra card draw value off of it. Oh, I'm definitely countering a Marshal of Zhalfir. That would give their whole board +1/+1 and give them a tapper to deal with some of our blockers. We do have a Realmbreaker's Grasp to deal with Blight, so we're Thallid, so now they have really good attacks on this Invasion of Belenon, which is pretty bad for us. I can double chump, or I can kill one of these creatures, and then the Invasion of Belenon goes down to 1 defense. I mean, it's definitely going to flip next turn, but at least I could play Eyes of Gataxias. They can at least play Eyes of Gataxias so that I can kill another one of their creatures when they go for the flip. But this thing is gonna get flipped. Well, now I have to consider just holding up Artistic Refusal and countering it when it flips. Just gives the board +1/+1. I feel like I would rather save Refusal and just kill a 2/2 if possible right now. But battles are cast when they flip, so I could have just held up Refusal and went for the counter when they go for the flip. Oh, another Realmbreaker's Grasp. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Now they can hit us for 2 and the Invasion for 2. Flip it and have 2 3/3s on the board. They're going to play it safe, double attack the Invasion. That's cool with me because I take 2 less damage this way. But I suppose they're playing around an instant speed removal spell like a Final Flourish or Afara's Dispersal. Okay, they're going to pass the turn now. Another Eyes of Gataxias. Corruption of Tawashi is going to give us a 4/4 to block these things. If I can draw a 7th land, I can play the Corruption and flip it in the same turn. I could cycle the Tidal Terror to guarantee that land, but I can also just cast the Tidal Terror. That's the only way I get a blocker immediately that doesn't die to a 3/3. So we've gotten 2 Realmbreaker's Grasps out of the way, but they still have a Protocol Knight to lock down the Tidal Terror for 2 turns. Okay, we do not top deck land number 7. So between a rock and a hard place here. If I conversion one of these things, I take 7. If I Eyes of Gataxias one of these things, I take 7, but I also draw a card. If I conversion, I can surveil for the 7th land for corruption. There's a 7th land and a temporal cleansing. We'll keep them. We go land, corruption of Tawashi flip. We have a 5/6 and a 4/4 blocker. 5/6 on the Protocol Knight, 4/4 on the 3/3. Fingers crossed. We're down to 5 though. They keep hitting gas here. They hit 4 lands and never drew another one, which is pretty bad. Straight gas all game. Yeah. Cavalier and Omen Hawk are here, which is just very good with +1/+1 to the whole board. And that just does it, because I can only play 1 blocker. Yeah. That's just game. They just hit exactly 4 lands and all spells from there. So, could not quite recover. Just needed them to hit a couple less spells, and this is where we would start stabilizing pretty hard. So I could Eyes of Gataxius and Temporal Cleansing, but then I only have 2 blockers up, which means I'm dead. I could Eyes of Gataxius and flip the 3/3, but then I only have 2 blockers up, which means I'm dead. I could play Corruption of Tawashi and flip the 4/4, but then I only have 2 blockers up and I'm dead. Actually, 1 mana off from Eyes of Gataxius. Flip a blocker and Temporal Cleansing. Oh. So close. If I had 1 more mana, because I could Cleansing with this Thallid, then I could have 2 blockers against 3 attackers and live 1 more turn. But I don't have it here. We are dead on board, no matter the line. Three and 2, heading into game 6. Alright, here we are on the play for game 6 with a really nice keep here. Slam dunk that one. Umezawa into Invasion of Amonkhet, and then Eyes of Gataxius and Assimilate Essence for later. Well, Light Reaper Thallid has said hello, and I think that's a little more exciting than Umezawa right now. Playing against another blue-white deck with a turn 2 Swordsworn Cavalier, that's a pretty good start. I'm not going to be hitting this invasion at all this turn if I just play it right now. But I do draw a card off of it, set up my plays for next turn, which I think is still fine. I could convince them to hold up blockers. Yeah, I think this is fine. Oh, I milled my other Invasion of Amonkhet. Oh, it's the same deck, Marshal of Zhalfir and Preening Champion in their grave. Good lord. Very strong cards for that Blue-White Knights deck. Let's hope the quality in their hand is not quite as high as the quality in their grave. They discarded an Invasion of Xerex. Might cool trading Thallid into Cavalier? Probably not. Not till it flips, ideally. Kithkin Billy Rider is the next play. Get their first strike attack in with Cavalier. Sure. Well, Billy Rider is very much not a good blocker for Thallid, so I actually think I flip it here. Because they chump blocker, I put Invasion of Amonkhet down to 1, and if I put Invasion of Amonkhet down to 1, then playing a Tetsuko Umezawa is going to flip the Invasion of Amonkhet, because we're going to be able to attack it with a 1/1 unblockable Saproling. I think I'm on the flip train here. Life total is going to take a beating for this, though. So we gotta hope flipping this invasion gives us a pretty good recovery. We'll get a 4/4 and a 1/1 elemental. Yeah, flipping the invasion is gonna be quite valuable. It's gonna give us multiple blockers in one turn. We could play Tetsuko Umezawa, Oracle of Tragedy, and get a Preening Champion that's a 4/4 from the grave. And I get to hold Blightsower Thallid up as a blocker. We can take the life total beating to guarantee we get this Invasion of Amonkhet flipped. Land number 5. If they just pass turn and hold all their mana untapped, I'm now much less certain that we can flip the Invasion of Amonkhet. I think I still go for it with Tetsuko Umezawa. But I'm a little concerned with 4 untapped mana. The 2 blockers are not concerning if they don't have a spell, but all that untapped mana is a problem. And I can't hold up Artistic Refusal because I have to tap the Sapling to go for lethal on the Invasion of Amonkhet. Removal for Tetsuko Umezawa makes a lot of sense here. Instant speed removal would get them there. Or an instant speed bounce spell like Afara's Dispersal. They just bounce Tetsuko and block the Sapling, kill it. It's probably the play. No, they're just gonna bounce the Sapling. That's fair enough too. I guess I get to keep 2 more mana this way. But it does put Tetsuko Umezawa at risk of permanent removal coming down next turn. I think I want to play an Oracle of Tragedy. Because even if they pacify Tetsuko Umezawa, that'll leave me with a 1-power creature that can attack the Invasion of Amonkhet unblockably. Eyes of Gataxias is more mana efficient, but this plays around the Realmbreaker's Grasp pretty well if they have that spell. These are all cheap enough to discard this land, I think, because of Convoke. So if they have something that just destroys Tetsuko Umezawa or exiles them, then we don't get to kill Invasion of Amonkhet, but now they can't just pacify Umezawa. They're just gonna go in. Alright, well, I'm just gonna... There's less combat tricks that would beat Blightsower Thallid blocking Cavalier, but then if they don't have a trick, we just straight trade anyway. But I don't think they'd be attacking with Billy Rider without a combat trick, so I think I do go on Cavalier. They probably have, like, the +1/+1 protection from a color or something that's going to win this fight no matter what, but Thallid has a good death trigger, so I'm not that concerned with losing it to a combat trick. Oh, Shapecraft on the Billy Rider to hit me for 8? Do they have 2 more combat tricks here, or do I die? I don't think there are any blue ones that just give plus power. Wow, alright, they had Shapecraft and Angelic Interventions. There was no possible way blocks go well for me here. Good lord. Alright, well at least they've accepted defeat on the Invasion of Amonkhet axis of this game. We are still getting a preening champion, I believe. Yeah, I'm not going to Cryptomancer or a Thallid. So we want to poke the Invasion of Amonkhet, get a preening champion. I probably just want to hold blockers up and hold up an Artistic Refusal. I think I need to play around Afara's Dispersal though for 1 blue. Okay. Preening champion hits our board. Can cast Eyes of Gataxias and still have Artistic Refusal up after blocks are declared. It's a little bit risky. If they have a really powerful spell to cast main phase 1, we can't counter it. But if they go for a combat trick or go for something post-combat, that's fine. So they're going to cast a Swordsworn Cavalier, and that looks like it for now. And they're just going to pass the turn. Sweet, we get to flip this Incubator. And I get a land draw. Cool, so we have 7 lands and 6 creatures. So I can tap any combination of 7 of those things. Ideally, mostly lands. Let's just tap 5 lands and play this failed conversion, I think. hold up Assimilate Essence or Artistic Refusal, and then maybe poke them with like a single 1/1 for now. I don't know if I kill the Cavalier or the Billy Rider. Probably the Cavalier. Pretty close, though. They need a trick either way for things to be bad for me. I don't really like Dramatic Revelation here. I think it's late enough in the game they're probably not holding on to anything, so that's just a 3/3. Which is fine, but probably drawn to some better stuff. Okay, I want to have a 3/3 and a 4/4 untapped here for sure. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4... I need 4 of these untapped, so I could poke with 2 1/1s, but you can poke with 1. I mean, honestly, I could probably just sit here and poke with nobody and just wait until I draw into Hitotsuga and Kairi or Shieldred or the Milk Shark, the shark that you can milk. They've got 3 cards in their hand. They're still on 5 lands. Got a lot of spells. Protocol Knight's a little scary. Scary enough to assimilate. Scornblade Berserker. That's nice. I think I will use that to get another card draw rather than just permanently buff something. I have another blocker up now, so send him with 2 of these. I'll sack the green one because it doesn't convoke for blue. Cool. I went for the +1/+1 counter post combat because it's not unblockable if it's a 2/2. And I wanted to get the sacrifice ability onto it. Not really just a +1/+1 counter onto it. With an Artistic Refusal up, 7 life is still so low, but with an Artistic Refusal up, I'm probably getting close to where I should be attacking with all of my 1-power creatures. I get like 1 more blocker. So I have a 4/4 and 2 3/3s to block with. I think that would be enough creatures to hold up if I also have Artistic Refusal. Is this a Wicked Slumber? Temporal Cleansing. Yeah, I'll just go for it here. Draw the best card out of my top 2, it's fine. Seems bad enough to me. So I have a Cryptomancer now, so we kind of still have a counterspell up, which is great. It's also an extra blocker. And we're going to start sending in the 1/1s. Well, the 1-power creatures. Xerox Strobe Knight, that's a pretty strong one. If they can cast 2 spells in 1 turn, then they can start making 2/2 knights, which will not be good. Temporal Cleansing? Well, speaking of good draws. All right. Tetsuko Umezawa putting in work. Wrath, Weatherlight, Stalwart. If they get another white source, they can start giving their whole board +1/+1 vigilance every combat, which is big. But they need another white source. They're down to 8. Maybe should have sent in Preening Champion there. I can still lethal them if they tap out next turn, though. But I could definitely lethal them next turn if I sent in Champion there. Yeah, they're not tapped out. Now it feels a little risky. Okay, I've got a Hitotsugu and Kairi back up. I can go for it. I'm going to go for it. Let's see. No blocks. We'll try it. I have to put the counter on champion because if I put it on a 1-1, it's no longer unblockable. In the future. Actually, I guess I don't have to put it on champion because if I just wait till after blocks are declared anyway. It's already not declared as a blocker. Alright, whatever. Either way, it works out for us. We are 4-2 now, which means we are just about breaking even. 1,400 gems out of the event. Pretty sweet stuff. We will take it. 4-2, heading into round number 7. Here we are for round 7 against Corticalls, host of the Limited Level Ups podcast. Very nice podcast, I highly recommend. We've got a solid keeper here. It's not a beautiful one, but it's fine. I'm going to start with the Berserker. It might have been better to start with Omen Hawker, but I don't have anything to spend the Omen Hawker mana on. This is my main concern. We're on to a Traumatic Revelation. Wow, this is a scary start. Captive Weird into Marshal of Zalfir. Let's Revelation, see what's going on there. Wow, Lancer into Protocol Knight. Good grief. They don't have the 4th mana for Protocol Knight yet, and when they do, I can hold up the counterspell, so I think I just get rid of the Lancer. They're just going to flip a Weird next turn, though, and hit me for 5, which is quite bad. Yep, and there's the 4th land, so we know what's going on next turn. Yeah, pretty unstoppable curve on the play. Not a lot I can do here. I can count as Protocol Knight, but... Block Conjurer, draw a card, I guess. Try desperately to make it to Shieldred. There's mana 4. It's a beginning. A start, one would say. Drop Thallid. If I hold up Cryptomancer, Corticalls can just aerial boost when I try to Cryptomancer to kill the Marshal of Zalfir, so I think I have to play the Omen Hawker. I don't think trying to Cryptomancer here is actually going to play well. Oh wow, unless Corticalls top decks another Protocol Knight somewhere this game. Ow. Good God. This stops 4 damage at the cost of 2 life with the Sapperling, so I might as well. Oh yeah, there is that. Alright. I mean, the alternative is Cryptomancer, chump, go to 4, have no creatures left, and just die. Yeah. Could not beat that curve out. That was absurd. Well, pretty excellent deck from Corticalls and a nasty aggressive draw. Definitely going to get us on to play that game. We are 4-3 to end the draft. Don't think there's a lot we could have done gameplay-wise in our losses. I think one of our losses was very much due to a lack of removal interaction. That was our very first loss where our opponent resolved the flipped Invasion of Mercadia for the 3/3 that can spit out multiple 1/1s and just keep going from there. But even if we had more removal spells, our other 2 losses were just getting like tempo aggroed out so hard that even like a removal spell doesn't really change the course of those games. So I don't even think we had our deck play particularly poorly. I think we just got beaten by some slightly better decks, slightly better draws, as is the general course of Magic. Definitely part of the game. Yeah, pretty happy with the deck. Pretty happy with how I drafted. I don't like our lack of removal in general, but again, that flaw didn't play out too poorly for us. And everything the deck played out pretty decently well. It was a little bit slow too, which was a bit of a downside, but our loss against the flipped Invasion of Mercadia and our loss against Corticalls were just blisteringly fast. felt like I was playing a faster version of Phyrexial will be one, so I think even fast decks are going to fall behind there against those decks on the play. So, is what it is, 4-3, but not a bad run when you consider how the deck performed against the decks that our opponents had and the draws that our opponents had. I think a 4-3 is pretty reasonable for most decks to achieve when playing against the quality of opponents we had there for our losses. So 1,400 gems and 3 packs will be our prizes for the end of the video, but that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting the channel, as well as you for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.